Hey, welcome back to Yappy Hour. Well, this episode's gonna be a little different. Just me in my beautiful studio, which is my kitchen basically, or part of the kitchen. Um, yeah, I didn't really wasn't able to get anyone to sit down with today or this week, I should say. A lot of people busy. I know we've been slammed with end of school year stuff and moving ups and graduations and all that stuff. So you get me. You get me for a little bit. Don't worry, you won't get me for 45 minutes. I don't even think I want to listen to me for 45 minutes. But today we're going to talk about one of the questions that I get the most when talking about business type stuff. And it's really how to start a business. So I'm going to kind of go over that, some of my experiences with it, what I've helped some folks do, and just kind of get into the nitty gritty of what do you need to do if you have an idea or something you want to do and you want to start your own business. So let's yap. Okay, so starting your own business. I've run a lot of businesses really since I've been in my teens, which was not too long ago. Joking, of course. I've run websites. I've run consulting. I've done franchises. I've actually owned retail franchises, multi-unit franchises. I have Boosted Coffee now. I had a go-kart racing company that coached and trained new racers. I do e-commerce still a little bit with the radio control car stuff that I do on the side. So I've kind of owned just a variety of different businesses, but there's always one first step that for every single one of them I've had to do, and that's creating the business. So I live in North Carolina. The first couple of businesses years and years and years ago, when I first moved here about 2 decades ago, did sole proprietorship, which at the time you just went to the county courthouse and you kind of just filed a form. And it was like $7 or $9. It was not very expensive. And that just gave you, the sole proprietorship for use that registered in your county. Over time, I got a little smarter and decided to use LLCs, which is what I have now. Boosted Coffee is an LLC. The building that we own for my wife's practice is under an LLC. Her practice is a PLLC. She owns that herself because of the type of business that she does. Boosted Coffee, like I said, LLC. The RC thing is an LLC. So really just kind of got in the habit of creating those just for a little bit more protection. Now, with most of them being just me, and now some of them are my wife and I, but even still, they're small. It's not like we have a board. So for the single member LLCs, that just files, or I should say it rolls through when you file your taxes. It just rolls through your returns. So I found those to be the easiest for my situation, for what I set up. Obviously, if you're looking to do something else, you can ask me a question and I can try to guide you based on what I know. Every situation might be different, or it might be very similar. Single member LLCs are probably the most common LLCs when like individual folks like myself are just kind of starting off with a business. And then they can grow from there and turn into other types of LLCs or S Corps or whatever you have. But I'm going to talk about LLCs. So for North Carolina, and I know for South Carolina, because I helped Newberry Nibblers, who was on my last video, form theirs. It's very simple. You just go to the Secretary of State website. You fill out a form with all your information, the business name, make sure it's available, your information, you're the owner, the address. If you have a location, you could put a location address, and then you can use your house as the mailing address or PO box or wherever the case may be. If you don't have a location, you're just starting something real small. You could just put your home address for everything as both the principal business address as well as the mailing address. Super easy to do. You submit it. I forget what they're charging now these days. I want to say it's around $125 to file the LLC. And then every year annually, you have to renew the information. And that costs like $200. And then they tack on some fees for like credit cards and stuff. But very simple to do. Now, if you're doing something along the lines of a retail business, so for example, the Boosted Coffee or even the Cart Carolina that I had, and the RC stuff, you also have to get a tax ID number, which you go through the Department of Revenue for your state. and you just submit the information after your LLC is approved, because it will ask you your number, and you'll get a tax ID number that you can then use to have the ability to collect sales tax on purchases, and then you remit the sales tax on a regular basis. Now, for me, my revenue is not very high. And when I say high, like it's got to be pretty high. So most people, again, unless you're doing super, super numbers, especially to start, you could probably get away with filing your sales tax returns, I should say, quarterly. So I go on, the first 3 months, you got January, February, March. So then by April 15th, your first quarter is due. Then you have April, May, June, July 15th, your second quarter is due, and so on and so on. And that's also all online. Super easy. You put your information in, you put your sales information in, put what county you're in, your sales numbers on your county, and it tells you what you need to do. And then you can file it right online. You could print and mail in a check or something like that. I just do it all online. I pay the $2 or $3 credit card fee. It's just so easy. I print it to a PDF, so I have a receipt basically for my purchase, and I have the whole return done, and then I'm good to go. So that's really the easiest way to actually start the business. Now, the first thing you need, obviously, is the business idea, right? And it could be anything. I know people who've just done some crazy businesses. And if you find a niche, or you find a need that, not needs to be met, but a need that can be met by a business, that's always beneficial. But people start businesses doing everything. You start the business, create the name, make sure it's available, register it with the LLC, get your tax ID. And then from there, like for me, I'll typically register a website. I'll get a Gmail email address to start. Sometimes when I register the website, like through GoDaddy or whoever the hosting may be, they'll give you like a promo where you can get the email address for a year, which is like at your domain versus like, at Gmail, but your business name at Gmail. It's a little more professional, gives people a little more warm and fuzzy. But that way you have a way for people to contact you. What I also like to do is, and I don't always use them to their fullest benefit, and some businesses may not even need them, but I like to also go through the socials and just register the socials. So I'll register a Facebook page. I will have an Instagram profile. I will have a TikTok profile. Maybe like for this, a YouTube profile. So I guess it depends what you're doing. My philosophy behind it is it doesn't hurt to register those, usernames or profiles for those things, because it's free, and it kind of like a bookmark, if you will. It holds that spot for you. You may create a TikTok or an Instagram or a Facebook page or whatever, and you may not even use it. But having it and kind of protecting your name is way better, in my opinion, than things, let's say things blow up really quickly for you and you're like, oh, I need this on social or that on social 6 months down the road, whatever the case may be. And it's been registered, because you remember those are all global platforms, right? Like Boosted Coffee, for example. There's Boosted Coffees around the country. I'm sure there's around the world too, but I'm not the only Boosted Coffee. So I went out and made sure that I kind of made my mark. And if you follow the Boosted Coffee on like Instagram or TikTok, I don't have a TikTok for that, but like Instagram or Facebook, it's like Boosted Coffee Official. Or sometimes I'll put online after it, like Boosted Coffee Online or something along those lines, because sometimes someone just has Boosted Coffee. A lot of times, like the ones I've looked at, they're just there. So they probably did what I do, where they registered the business, registered the name, registered your socials, didn't really use them, but they have them. And now someone like me, I can't use it, so I had to get a little more creative. So depending on your name, if it's a popular name, you may be able to register your actual name, or you may have to get a little creative with like putting, official, or like Denny Prime is my kind of my, I guess, online Instagram persona in a way, or, kind of brand, when I had more of the car stuff, and I still post to it. But there are actually some people out there named that, so getting those socials was kind of harder. So that's the real Denny Prime. That's how that came about, because that was available. And so I was like, I'm gonna grab that. It's kind of a silly, fun thing for me anyway. It's obviously not my real name. So just kind of putting the real Denny Prime, or, the real Boosted Coffee or whatever. It's just kind of a little fun take on things, so you might need to get creative. But once you have all that set up, Now, obviously, depends on your business. If you're doing a e-commerce or a website business, you'll want to go ahead and get a website presence, an internet presence, I should say. Build a website, maybe have a contact us form on there at the very least, and then on your socials, just kind of hype yourself up. But it really, again, depends on your business. So Boosted Coffee, for example. I have stuff on my social. People tag me when we do events. If I'm doing car shows, like I do stuff with Eurowise or with some of the other local groups, they'll tag me. It's just an easy way to also just say, hey, Boosted Coffee will be there. And it just looks a little cool if there's a tag and people can click onto your page. But being honest with you guys, I don't really get, or I should say, I get very minimal business through my socials. I have had people reach out through socials. I am on some, food type groups or some like business, like vending concession type groups on Facebook. And sometimes people will post, hey, we need a coffee vendor. I'll shoot them a message and then I'll get, business that way. So it doesn't always not happen, but it's not like, I can't think of a time where someone's went to my Instagram and was like, hey, awesome Instagram profile. We want to have you at an event. 9 times out of 10, they've seen me somewhere. They found my, remembered my name, found my profiles, and then sent me a message. So still good to have it so people can reach out to you that way. And then on the website, I just have like a basic list of the menu and then like a contact us, because people are always going to just pop your name in Google. So it's never bad to have that, especially the contact us so people can reach out to you. My wife, for example, owns a counseling practice, and no one that I know of, and I manage a lot of that stuff for her. I've never seen a message come through a social or an Instagram post looking for a counselor. There are counselor-based websites that she's a member of and stuff, and that's where a lot of the leads come from. Or our website, leads come from there, or people will send an email inquiring about counseling or that type of thing. So that makes more sense. But putting up a picture or like a quote or something, counseling or therapy related on Instagram, I've never seen it through her business generate a lead. So it's going to really depend what your business is, what you're doing, what your reach is. There are people who solely rely on social media. Vince, so, I'm friendly with, driven with Vince. And then, John Thickwhips, they do a lot of affiliate marketing. So that type of stuff, obviously your social game needs to be on point, right? You need to manage your socials. You need to be interacting. You need to be consistently posting every day, if not more. So it depends what your business is, depends who your target market is. And it really depends on what your reach should be. Now, if you're opening something like a physical location, I know some of the guys in the Charlotte Speed Group, I've seen posts, they're opening like an auto house type of place, which looks like it's going to be kind of a social club / storage thing. They're posting some construction pictures and just some concept photos and stuff. Like those type of businesses, yeah, you absolutely want to build that up on your socials, because people aren't going to really kind of know what you're doing until they could see something a little more tangible, where they can sit there and watch a video and say, this is what it's turning into, or this is where they're going with that. For me, Boosted Coffee, it's a mobile concession trailer, right? Coffee shop on wheels. It's pretty straightforward. Now I have some videos on there, I have some pictures. I typically will take pictures of events that where I'm at an event, not at a video, where I'm at an event. And I'll get some pictures. I might sneak out of the trailer for a few minutes, get some picture of the trailer, picture of some cars, or if I'm doing a school event, picture of like the front of the school or something. I try to leave kids and stuff out of it. And then I'll just put up a post, hey, thank you for having me, that type of thing. Because somebody may look it up if they've seen that, and they may reach out and, I want them to see, hey, this is the type of event that this was. I've also had events come from other events. So I've done school events, and where folks at the school are in charge of something else, whether it's like a planning committee for a small town or an athletic association or just whatever you could think of. There's always connections there. Now, those folks will sometimes go to my socials, and they will see pictures of events, and they'll message me, or they'll comment on it and say, hey, I was at this event, wanted to talk to you about another event. So stuff like that does happen sometimes as well. But again, it depends what your business is. The key is, for me, getting it registered so your name's protected. Now, keep in mind, if you're like, I have an idea for a business, I want to do this, but I'm not 100% sure. I may want to add this or not do this in the end or whatever. You could always register your business and then change your name. It's not very difficult to do, but at least you get it going. And similar to like with this podcast and what a lot of other people preach to, it's like, it's just getting it started. If you've been sitting on an idea for so long, it's like, well, I just got to register the business. I don't want to know. I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. If you register it, if you go online and you pay that, fee and you register it with your state, and most states from the research I've done are very similar, where you go to the Secretary of State's website and you register the business, through them. Obviously they'll have a different site or maybe a possibly slightly different method, but it should be that way. And then you just register it. Then the ball's rolling, and you can, you'll get yourself excited. You'll get excited as you tell people, hey, I registered my LLC today. And you can kind of start, working towards your business goals. So that's just my recommendation. A lot of times it's hard to start. It's not that hard to start. If you need help, send me a message, reach out to me. I've consulted with many folks, sending them to the sites, or just sending them the links, or doing it with them, like sitting down at a coffee shop with a laptop, right? So super, super easy to do in most cases. If not, we can figure it out. It's not that hard. So I think I have a little fly friend buzzing me here, so you may see that on the video. The other thing I want to say, and I'm not an accountant. I just know what I know. So check with your accountant if you're not sure. But I touched on it at the beginning. Single member LLCs kind of roll up through you. So Boosted Coffee is single member LLC. Say that 5 times fast. It's me basically. With the LLC, I'm the CEO, or however you list yourself, president, whatever, however you list yourself when you file. But so any deductions, so the trailer or coffee or flavorings or whatever I need in the course of business, milk, creamer, all that stuff. I have a business card, which I also recommend doing that. I have a business credit card with the business name and my name on it. And then that stuff I keep track of, just nothing fancy. I just use a spreadsheet and send a spreadsheet to my accountant when the time comes. But that will eventually all rolls through my personal tax return, being that I'm a single member. So I have 3 single member LLCs. So it's like my name, here's my return, my personal income, all my personal stuff, my personal deductions. And then it's like, okay, here's the one for Boosted Coffee. Boom, here's revenue, here's deductions, here's, whatever. And same for Rad Hobbies, which is the RC company, boom, lists it. And then HD1 Consulting, which is the arm that I use for doing consulting for people who want to start businesses and such. And then boom, lists the revenue and the expenses for that. So, but it all goes through. So when I file my return, my wife and I, we file a joint return. She has her LLCs. I have my LLCs. And then it's just, here's our joint marital return right through. It's not that bad. Obviously, it adds a little bit of a fee through your account because it's not just, our personal returns, but it's not like this whole big crazy thing. Now, obviously, the goal is probably to get to that point. But, to start, it's super easy. So don't let that be something that gives you anxiety, or like, I don't want to deal with this, or I don't know what to do. Like, just start it, just file what you need. If you have to collect sales tax, again, like for purchases, I do, for that consulting, I don't, because it's not a product sale, but like, just figure it out, get the tax ID number, get the LLC number, get the approval, and just start that ball rolling. You could figure it out from there, again, not tax advice, but for new LLCs and new businesses, you get 3 years of deductions. After that, the IRS will consider your business like a hobby. So you have to start showing an income. Even if it's $1, you have to show a profit. So, but that's there to allow you to build the business. The IRS understands, hey, this person started a small business. They're going to have expenses. There's going to be marketing expenses. Again, depending on what you're doing, there might be inventory expenses or like a trailer for this, or coffee equipment, whatever the case may be. So those are all deductions, and then they roll through your personal tax return. So maybe you work full time and you're starting a business on the side. That's how I started Carolina back in 2016. I think I started that 2016. That's how I started that. I was working full time for a Big Four accounting firm, and so it was just doing that on the side on race weekends. Where obviously I wasn't at work anyway, and so those deductions went up against my salary and reduced my net tax exposure basically. So it's there. It's there for you to use to your advantage. And when I say that, I don't mean to take advantage. I mean to use to your advantage so you could properly build the business and get it to where you need to go. So that after 2 or 3 years, you're showing the profit. Again, you're still going to report it the same way. Single member LLC, it's going to file 3-year tax returns, and that's it. So it's not as hard as people think. I understand it's a little scarier. It's a little intimidating, especially if you've never done it before. But you can reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't care what state you're in. I can find the resource. I can find the information. So just do it, right? Again, not steal from Nike. I know probably a couple of videos that's come up, but like, just do it. Just get it done. Just file it. Just get the ball rolling. Because trust me, once you take that step, whatever type of business idea you have, assuming it's a tangible idea, maybe if it's a little bit of a bigger deal where you need a little bit more of an investment, put together a business plan. There are a ton of sample business plans on the internet that you can kind of use as far as the format goes. And you could put your kind of almost brainstorm to yourself and put your ideas on paper using this format and figure out if what you're doing is a good idea or where it needs tweaking or whatever the case may be. But just get it done. Just do it. I've done a few business plans. I had to do business plans when we had the multi franchise locations. Each one had to have its own business plan for the business loans. But I just found one that I liked, made it, and then just used that as my template. And I've actually used that as my template now for, I don't even know how long it's been, 15 years, give or take, 16 years since I did the first one of those. I use that now as my sample template, and I tweak it whenever I need a business plan based on the business that I'm creating the current plan for, obviously. But it's just a good format that I like. It's got like the information, it's got the financial information, has a competitor section, kind of helps you kind of think through everything step by step. Like, here's my business, here's my idea, here's the products and services I want to offer. Here's my competitors. What are they offering? It forces you to do the research. Let me check their website. What are they offering? What are their prices? Where are they setting themselves up? How are they marketing themselves? And it might give you ideas for you. It might give you ideas for things you would do completely different, but still it's going to help you to kind of hone in on what your goals are and help you to focus on, getting up and running and doing it, as well as you can to start. Obviously, you'll continue to tweak as you go. You'll find out what works, what doesn't work. Quick example, Carolina, I was unique in that sense. That was kind of a unique business, and I worked with the tracks and with the other kart racing teams to get people into racing. But kid karts is a big thing, and these are little kids. I'm talking 6, 7, 8 years old, who've driven like Power Wheels or yard karts, and now want to go on a track. I did start that. I added that like as a feature or as a service, like, hey, we'll do kid karts. I bought a kid kart. It just ended up being a lot of work, a lot of hand holding, a lot of time, super rewarding, because there's still a couple that started with me at that level who are still racing. And, we're talking almost 9 years later, 8, 9 years later. So, from when I started it, although I probably did the kid karts more in 2017, 2018, but still 7, 8 years later, they're still racing and doing well. But then I figured out, it takes too much time and kind of takes away from, the core of not training the new and the novice racers, because obviously they would be new. They wouldn't even be novice. But it's a whole different ballgame. They race on a different type of track layout. They use a completely different type of chassis and motor setup. And so I did it. I did it for a year. I had a few customers with that. It worked well. It did okay. But then at the end of the year, in the off season, in the winter, I was like, I don't know that I'm going to continue this. Put up an ad in late winter. I think it was like February. I sold everything that was related to the kid kart. I think I made money on it, or I definitely had to lose money on it. And then just reshifted back to my focus, to the core of where I wanted the business to go. So you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. None of that affects how you set up the business, your LLC. I just went on my website, took that little section out, done. 10 minutes, published, done. So you can always pivot. You can always change your name. You can always change your offerings. You can always tweak things, add things, remove things. But the key is to just get it going. Get the name registered. Get the tax ID if you need it. Lock down your socials. Register your website. You can have a coming soon page. Use something like Canva, even the free Canva trial. Just get a basic logo just to start. basic free logo using, free Canva, and put that on your website and on your socials, like digital profile picture or whatever, just to start. And you have something. And then if you tweak it or change it or update it, you do that when the time comes. So, don't be afraid. I know it's easier said than done, but especially if you're looking to start something maybe as a side hustle while you're working full time, something you can start, build up, and then maybe it could eventually be a full time thing, like what happened with my kart racing thing. I did that while I raced, while I worked full time for about a third of 2016, and then in 2017, I left the firm and I focused full time on that, and then I built that into a full business that I eventually sold in 2021. So to start the coffee business. So just try it, just do it, and if it doesn't work out or things change or you move or whatever the case may be, you just send in a form and you just shut down the LLC. It's it's not permanent. It's not as scary as it might sound or as intimidating as you might think it is. So I know some of the people watching this are probably business people. They're probably watching this. They might not have got this far. They might be like, this is all basic information. I've known this for years. But, there's probably a lot of people watching it who had these types of questions. So feel free to ask other questions in the comments if you'd like. Feel free to send messages, again, through my socials. I have a Yappy Hour Facebook page, a Yappy Hour TikTok, Yappy Hour Instagram. Obviously, those are just like the shorter clips, and then this goes on YouTube. But post in the comments, send me a message, ask questions. I'm happy to help you. If you want to set up a quick consulting thing, I don't charge a ton of money. It's not anything I'm trying to get rich off of. I just like helping people set stuff up. I like helping people build businesses. To me, that's fun. To me, it's fun to help someone get the ball rolling, like Nibblary Nibblers. I sat down with Stephanie and her husband in August, and we had a preliminary discussion. I asked them some general questions about the business, what their thoughts were, what their ideas were. And then, about an hour after I left, I got home, did some quick research because they're in South Carolina, sent them the links for how to register the business and to get their tax ID number. And they handled that, and they've been off and running ever since. And now, if you've watched some of the videos with me, with them, and checked out their socials, they're bringing baby goats to birthday parties, and it's just cool stuff. But they were worried. They've been talking months for how do we do this? How do we get it started? They got it started. They took the information, they ran with it, and now they're doing their thing. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have a question. I know this was a super quick one. I don't even know how long it was, but this is like a quick yap. Maybe we'll call them quick yaps. We'll see what the title says after I'm done editing. And I'll do a few of these. If you have questions, there's other content you want to see, other questions you have, put them in the comments or send me a message, and I'll just share my experiences. I don't claim to know everything, but I can share my experiences on the subject, and we can make a little short, quick video like this one, and hopefully it will help someone out there. So thanks for joining me on the Yappy Hour, and this is more like the Yappy Minutes, but still the Yappy Hour, because if you haven't been able to tell, I really didn't breathe much. I just yap. It's a gift of gab, I guess. So trying to use my strengths here. But thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Follow me on all the socials, as I mentioned. Like, subscribe, and we will see you next time.